What? The food? What? I mean, this is an area of history that's just like so deep.
And over the baguette.
Themes of empire, mission, inheritance, and destiny. All right. Hello and welcome back to What the Food. This is a podcast that aims to uncover the fascinating origin stories behind dishes from all around the world, both popular and obscure. My name's Miles, and I'm hanging out with Andy.
Hello there.
Hello-schen.
Hello-schen.
Hello-schen. It's our mission to delve into history and to give you a whole new appreciation for dishes that we eat. Today's episode takes us on a journey to the origin of clam chowder.
Clam chowder.
Clam chowder.
Clam chowder.
What would you call a picture that a clam takes of itself?
Go on.
A shelfie.
Nah, you know what? I'm not doing this podcast.
I'm done.
Is it going to be full? Is the old podcast going to be full of clam puns?
No, that's it. Done.
Right.
Rest assured.
Let's really get into it.
Yep.
I'd like to start this episode by reading or getting you, Miles, to read a quote that perfectly encapsulates people's feelings about the food we are covering today.
All right.
Shoot.
Clam. Shut up, Andy. I'm trying to do it.
Right, go on then, read the quote, yeah.
All right.
Now.
Clam chowder. I thought you were going to interrupt me again on purpose then. Go, Miles, go. Clam chowder is one of those subjects, like politics and religion, that can never be discussed lightly. Bring it up, even incidentally, and all the innumerable factions of the clam bake regions raise their heads and begin to yammer. The clam bake regions.
Yeah,
What is
we'll
this
get into what that means later.
Okay.
But that right there is a quote from a chef called Louis P. de Goy, who was the author of a book called The Soup Book, which was written in 1949. Ooh. Who knew that clam chowder was such a hot topic, you know?
Yeah.
To be compared with, like, politics and religion.
Yeah, the two things you don't bring up at a dinner table.
Yeah, exactly. So, from Manhattan to New England, clam chowder is known for its competing varieties, as much for its comforting, briny flavour. It seems every state on the East Coast has its own take on this popular soup, and even some of the West Coast states have tweaked the recipe to make it their own. Have you ever eaten clam chowder, Miles?
I've had like one that you get from a supermarket, but I think it's not going to be real chowder, that is it? It's going to be so far from traditional true chowder.
Yeah. Chowder Puritans would probably turn their nose up at that.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to say no, I haven't had clam chowder. Have you?
Yeah. No, I don't think I have. I think, I'm very similar. I've had probably something from a supermarket, but I imagine
it's just
if we were to say that, we've had clam chowder, we got it from Tesco, Americans would be like, no, English clams are less briny, so you don't get the same flavour.
Yeah. That's if there's any fucking clams in it at all anyway. Like, it's probably got like
exactly
2% clam or something.
I don't know. It's fish soup at the end of the day,
isn't it? Let's get rid of all this bullshit. It's fish soup at the end of the day.
It's fish soup at the end of the day.
I don't know. I think there's more to it than that in there.
Americans would like to think so, I reckon.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll get into it. So we'll start with what is clam chowder. Clam chowder is fish soup. Right, moving on. No. According to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, the definition of chowder is
a soup or stew of seafood, as clams or fish, usually made with milk or tomatoes, salt pork, onions, and other vegetables.
So that's the official definition of it, according to Merriam-Webster.
So it says here with milk or tomatoes. So I'm guessing then you get creamy, milky ones, and then you get like tomato-based ones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We'll after we've got to the bottom of what it is, we'll break down the various regional differences.
Versions. Yeah, and salt pork.
Exactly.
That's something that's in all variations of it then, or most.
For some of them, I believe.
Salt pork.
Because some of them don't even include vegetables, which we'll get to later on.
Sure.
But I think that's just like a very generalised, trying to make everyone happy. But we'll get to that. So while there are different types of chowder, the clam variety is undoubtedly the most well known. The definition of the soup varies depending on what part of the country you're in, but most, as the definition says, includes clams, potatoes, onion, and some form of pork. The biggest difference, really, between chowder is the broth. That seems to be what Americans argue the most about.
God, okay.
Some use milk to produce like a thick, creamy broth, whilst others use like a red broth made with tomatoes and spices that kind of just ends up looking more like a watery curry, really.
Yeah.
And then there's also the clear side, which is a completely clear broth that's made from just the clam juice.
Okay.
We'll get into. But while each region may prepare chowder differently, they all share one thing in common. All of them feel their clam chowder is the best, and the rest of them are dishwater.
Yeah.
Yes.
Again, the notion of getting territorial over your version of a certain dish. We've seen it time and time again, haven't we?
Time and time again. They absolutely love it. It's like a rivalry like football.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's like,
this is the way to do it, and yours is shit.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess that's why they compare it to politics and religion, because that is the same way of thinking, isn't it? You know, my God is the God, therefore yours doesn't exist. Or politics, conservatives is the way to do it, and it means everything that the Labour says is stupid. Do you know what I mean? It's just like that all or nothing approach that politics, religion, and your recipe of a dish has in common.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah.
And like if you've grown up in an area where your parents and your parents' friends and your friends' parents all were saying, "Don't eat this chowder, it's shit.
You're indoctrinated.
Our chowder's way better."
Yeah.
You're indoctrinated, and you're gonna carry those resentments into your adulthood.
Little 4-year-old Johnny. I want this one, and my grandma makes with the seawater. Your shitty one from New Portland. Fuck that.
When you said 4-year-old Johnny, first thing that went to my head was a condom.
Yeah.
Proper crusty 4-year-old Johnny.
Oh, God. You do not want that in your clam chowder.
No.
Oh, God. No, that was that wasn't a Johnny.
No, it was a little boy called Johnny.
Yeah.
Who was made because they didn't use a Johnny.
Yes. They should have.
Yeah, they should have, because he's a little brat. So let's do a quick rundown of the 4 most popular types of clam chowder currently knocking about in the US of A.
All right.
First one, Manhattan clam chowder. Ooh. The Manhattan clam chowder has a red tomato-based broth that was initially introduced to America by Portuguese immigrants to the Rhode Island area. So we first see reference to this type of chowder in the 1800s, where it was called Fulton Fish Market clam chowder and New York City clam chowder.
That's a mouthful, that, isn't it?
In it, yeah, way too long. Fulton Fish Market clam chowder. Step right up, God. Get your Fulton Fish Market clam chowder. What?
It's like, what? What was that?
What was that?
On a menu, he just takes up 2 pages. Right.
Fulton Fish Market, by the way, is a fish market located in the Bronx that has been there since 1822, which is mad to think about. I think it's changed location recently, but it was in the same place for around 183 years.
Yeah. And the properties to rent in the surrounding area were dirt cheap because it stunk of fucking fish every day.
Stunk of fish, yeah. Any washing that you put out was just fucking reek of haddock.
Yeah. They're practically giving the places away for free. They want people to just fill it.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a red chowder, and this style comes with all types of vegetables such as celery and carrots, and they often make like a mirepoix as they're making it. Mirepoix, for those uneducated fiends out there, is celery, carrots, and onions.
The magical trio that makes up a good tomato-based sauce.
Exactly. So yeah, that's the Manhattan one.
I was just going to say, before we move on, that when I went to New York City, it's places like that I would have liked to have gone to. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously we went and we just hit up the typical spots, because you have to do that when you go to New York. You need to go see
of course.
Liberty Island, and you need to go and see Ground Zero and Central Park and all that. But it's kind of those more like niche places that if I was to go again, I'd want to hit up. This really old fish market. Like, there's so much history there, and you're not going to find many tourists there. You're going to find the locals there, and it's you're going to get more of an actual flavour of traditional New York life visiting
Yeah.
those kind of places. So it's those kind of places I wish I knew more about before I went.
I think New York is one of them places where to experience it to its fullest, you need to live there for like 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, and there's just so many
much to
tourist
do.
trap areas.
Yeah.
You know, like you need to try and remove yourself from that the best you can. If I ever go back again, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a point of trying to spend less time in Manhattan and, you know, go and visit the Bronx and go and visit Brooklyn and Queens and those kind of surrounding areas and get a bit of a better feel for traditional
New York.
life. Yeah.
Right, moving on. The next one. New England clam chowder. This is your creamy boy.
Creamy boy. That's what my
creamy
mama
stuff.
called me. My little creamy boy.
Why does she call you that? Go on, give me some reasons as to why.
Because late at night, she was woken up from bed with a little rustling noise downstairs in the kitchen. She put on her nightie and go down, and she sees little chubby Miles sat down on the floor outside the fridge, drinking milk and eating cream.
Drinking milk and eating cream.
Come to bed, Miles, you little creamy boy. No, Mommy. I'm going to stop this one right now.
No, Mommy! I gotta finish this cream! I'm a creamy boy!
Oh, creamy boy.
So this is probably the most common type of chowder.
This is the one I thought of when we said we were doing chowder.
Exactly.
Yep.
This is milk or cream based. That is much thicker than the other versions of the dish. So yes, it's commonly made with milk, butter, potatoes, salt pork, onions, and of course clams.
Clams.
And to thicken it up, to give it that thick boy flavour, thick with 2 T's, flour is often used, or more historically, something called crushed hardtack may be used as a thickener.
What's that?
So hardtack is a type of savoury biscuit.
I think I've seen something about this. Sea biscuit, they call it.
Sea biscuit, exactly, yeah. So it was basically, it was like a standard ration for militaries and navies throughout the 17th, 18th and 19th century.
Okay.
Basically, it's a hard as fuck biscuit with flour and water that was consumed on long voyages due to its extended shelf life.
Right. So what, you add water to it or milk, did you say? And then
So-
what does it do? To soften up and you kind of eat it?
No, so you can just eat it as is,
Oh, right, okay.
but they used it as thickener in the clam chowder.
It's like making a bread sauce. Like when we make bread sauce at Christmas time,
Yeah.
kind of like introducing bread into a sauce that it's, you know, goes very thick.
It's
and
very thick, exactly.
gloopy.
Yeah. I imagine it's a lot like the Lamnas bread that Samwise always had in his pockets.
Yes.
That's what I imagine it's like.
Crumbs in his pockets.
We're not doing this again. We've already done Smeagol. We need to leave it at least another like 10 episodes before we come back to Smeagol.
So New England clam chowder, yeah, you will often find New England clam chowder or Boston chowder, as it's sometimes referred to.
Boston.
Like throughout this,
Chowder.
I was trying to like figure out if I could do a Boston accent, and
So hard.
the only thing that kept coming to my mind was "Mommy's not wearing any panties." I was just thinking, I can't.
I
How am I going to say a sentence?
But you have, though.
I have, yeah.
You've got it there. You've got it in. Boston. And it's like, they go up at the end of sentences. It's not...
Oh, you just pretty. That's kind of like Italian New Yorker, that maybe.
We go down when we talk. They go up at the end of sentences. For some reason,
Yeah.
everything's on an upward spiral. Weird.
Weird, man.
Clam
Daddy.
chowder. Daddy. Stop. Now I've got like Smeagol saying that in my head. I
Yeah.
can't get out. I'm not doing it.
No, not doing it.
Move on.
Anyway, tangents galore. So, yeah, with the New England style chowder, or the Boston chowder, as it's sometimes referred to, you'll often find it served with oyster crackers, or if your place is real fancy, it's served in a bread bowl.
Wow. Throw the loaf out, just fill it with chowder.
It's like Buddy Chow all over again.
I know, innit? Oh, I thought like a bowl that you have bread in. Not an actual
No.
So I just said throw the bread out the bowl and fill it with chowder.
What would be the point?
I know. That's what I was thinking. But these fucking Yanks, though, they do shit that's weird all the time. I won't put it past them. But no, you were talking about an actual filling up the bread itself.
Yes, like a circular, like a cob
Right, yeah.
style bread,
Yeah.
and then just scooping that little bad boy out and just filling it with something else. Chowder.
Yeah, we are back at bunny chow here, aren't we?
So yeah, that's a New England style.
Yep.
So the next chowder that we're going to cover is the Rhode Island clam chowder.
Rhode Island. So that's not far from
No,
New York City, isn't it?
All
Rhode
of the
Island.
chowders that we're going to be talking about are all from the West Coast and are basic East Coast, Northeast.
Yeah.
And they are all situated around the New England, New York area. Because if you think about it, that's where the first settlers were. So that's just where.
And they've got the Atlantic Sea, haven't they? So they've got all that fresh fish to use.
So, in my opinion, the Rhode Island clam chowder is basically seawater. It's just angered a whole area, but it's made with a clear broth and contains no dairy or tomatoes whatsoever. Your liquid is basically just the broth that you're left with after boiling your clams.
Right, okay. So it's it's a fish stock, essentially.
Yeah, that's basically it.
An organic fish stock.
Fish stock, yeah.
But the thing is, to get a concentrated stock, you need a lot of, like, you know, when you make a chicken stock, you use like the whole carcass of a chicken, and you're extracting all that flavour from the bones. But if you're just using clams, is that going to give you a strong enough concentrated flavour?
I don't know. Well, obviously, people from Rhode Island think it does.
It's enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
It might be just quite a subtle one.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I couldn't find any evidence to say that they added herbs or anything like that. But that's not to say that they didn't. They don't.
Yeah. But the official recipe just has it as pure clam juice.
Yeah. And like as we'll see later, you know, people are very protective of their chowder.
Yeah.
And believe that their regions are superior in every way possible.
But the thing is, why does one have to be better than the other? One's a tomato one, one's a creamy one. Why can't you just be like, well, some nights I'm in the mood for a
Someone's got to win.
But that's the problem. That's the problem. They don't have to be a
Someone's
winner. Everyone can be a winner. Some nights I might fancy the tomato one. Sometimes I might fancy the creamy one. Sometimes...
No, can't draw a Monopoly. It's got to be a winner. Same with the game of life. But so the argument for this one, for the Rhode Island one being the best, is that you're not putting a shit ton of cream or tomatoes in it. You get to really taste.
They're going for the purity
clams
route.
Yeah, exactly. You get that full clam hit, and you get that full clammy flavour just wrestling your taste buds, swirling around your mouth, and going down your gullet. That's what you get.
God, that is not what you want on a hangover. That
Nah, none of this is.
None of this is zero.
None of this food
today
is
hangover food.
Yeah, zero. Literally none of it. Right, yeah. So the last one now, before we get into more of the history and the origins of the humble clam chowder, is the Long Island clam chowder.
Okay.
This guy is basically the bastard child of the New England style and the Manhattan style, which is kind of fitting because Long Island is in between Manhattan and New England. That makes sense.
Right,
so this type of chowder is basically a tomato cream-based chowder that ends up looking kind of pink, kind of like a beetroot soup or something in the end.
Or like a tomato sauce that's got mascarpone in it.
Exactly,
It's kind of like more of an orangey
that.
colour.
Exactly like that. Yeah, more of an orangey, pinky colour, for sure.
Fair enough.
What's interesting about this one is the way in which it's cooked. How do you think this is cooked, the Long Island clam chowder?
If I was just going to use common sense, I'd cook it in the same way as the Manhattan one, the tomato one. And then towards the end, I would add in the cream element.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to...
That's exactly what I would do.
Yeah.
But that's not what they do.
Of course.
So what I read that these guys do, what I found that these guys do, is that they actually cook both of the two chowders separately before pouring them into the same bowl.
Oh my God.
So they cook the cream-based chowder and the tomato-based chowder in separate pots. And when they are both ready, just mix them together.
What benefit is there to that?
I
Tell
know.
me
the
reason why.
I know, man. I found this great quote from a lady called Linda Nenninger, who owns the Chowder Bar. And she said,
I'm a big fan of mixing foods. If you have one good soup and another good soup, how can it be bad if you mix it together?
Fucking hell, Linda.
fucking admire that logic. That's the shit that makes America great. Shit like that.
Literally, this tastes good. So does this. Mix them.
Yeah, mix them.
But you've got two pans there. It's double the washing up.
Linda didn't give a fuck.
Linda did not give a fuck.
No, she's a big fan of mixing foods. How can it be bad if you mix it together?
I could just imagine of mixing all sorts of horrendous dishes at home that just don't need to be mixed.
No.
Like Linda's son's like, Mom, not this again.
Stop
Mixing all this.
experimenting. Meatball ice cream.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, they both taste good down around, don't they? Why don't we mix them?
I'm thinking like instead of Ben and Jerry's, like, you know, the cookie pieces, you've just got meat pieces in there.
Oh my God.
And instead of caramel swirling through it, you've got like fucking
Gravy.
Dijon mustard or something.
I don't think Linda is a Dijon gal. I think she's having like
French's.
Yeah.
Which of these 4 chowders are you messing with, Mallow?
I don't know. I would try them all, to be honest. I mean, if people are so adamant that each one is the best in its own right, then I think we've got to do a taste test with all 4, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. I think if I had to choose, I'd go with the Manhattan one or the Long Island one.
Yeah.
I don't know, just something about cream and fish doesn't really do it for me. I'd eat it, of course. Like, if I was there, I'd absolutely eat it.
Well, what that reminds me of is like a fish pie. You know, like the fish pie filling is... Do you not?
No, not really.
Oh, see, I fuck with the fish pie.
Yeah. I'd eat it, for sure. But maybe I wouldn't order it normally. So, yeah, now we know the 4 most popular types of chowder in America. Let's get into the origins, shall we? Let's get into the history of this fishy dish. This fish soup. So, whilst we are mainly focusing on clam chowder today, it's thought that chowders as a whole originated as a shipboard dish.
Right, okay.
Basically, it was made aboard ships by seamen.
The thing is, I was going to say this before, it seems like if I worked on a ship, the last thing that I would want to eat is something that tastes and smells like the sea, which I'm already spending a huge portion of my life at.
Yeah, I think more necessity though. What else are you going to eat?
Well, yeah, exactly. That's the thing. You're there. You just fish on the boat, don't you? You've got everything you need.
Exactly.
But
no, you are right. You wouldn't want to be eating that after spending however long at sea, would you?
No, exactly.
But necessity.
Yeah, true.
You know?
40th day in a row. It's like you're out at sea eating another bowl of chowder. Like, I couldn't think of anything worse. Boat swaying, you're getting seasick, and you're eating this horrendous fish
thick,
meal.
creamy fishy meal. Yeah.
Like, you're asking for
How is it?
How is it? Every night, every day. How is it? Yeah.
So, chowders are thought to have first been introduced into New England by French, Nova Scotian, or British fishermen. And by 1732, chowder had become an important American dish.
All right.
So, introduced by either French, Nova Scotian, or British fishermen, which is fair enough. I can see it. The word chowder is a corruption of the French chauderie, which translates to cauldron or boiler.
Cauldron or boiler
is what you do with a chowder, isn't it? I guess you boil it, so it makes perfect fucking sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Think about it.
And also, like a cauldron, you kind of throw a lot of different things into a cauldron.
Yeah.
And you get with a chowder, you got some prawns, you got some clams, you got some shellfish, you got some of this, some of that. Feels like a bit of a cauldron situation.
Exactly.
Come to my cauldron.
That's Linda again.
That's Linda. Yeah, she's back. Mixing.
Making Long Island clam chowder for her son.
Yeah. Some modern etymologists also credit the word chowder to a 16th century English word for a fishmonger called a jouter.
Chowder?
Jouter. Jawter.
Jouter, okay.
Jouter. It's kind of a cool name, isn't it?
Isn't it?
So the English word jouter, which is what they call fishmongers, or was a word for fishmongers, and the French word chauderie, which translates to cauldron or boiler. Interesting stuff. Now, these early American seafood chowders were made with fish, clams, any other seafood, basically, that they could get their hands on. Potatoes, crumbled hardtack for thickening, and flavouring such as lemon, cider, ketchup, or even in some cases curry.
Ooh, curry one sounds quite cool.
Yeah. As soon as they arrived, regional differences began to spring up all over New England. You had, in places like Nantucket, the islanders did not add crackers or potatoes to the chowder. In Massachusetts and Maine, residents enriched the soup with heated milk or cream. Tomatoes were sometimes used by people living in Rhode Island, Connecticut, and elsewhere. Basically, it was a chowder free-for-all and everyone seemed to be getting in on the act and either making it their own, making it slightly different from their neighbours down the road, or just trying to put their own stamp on it and mark their own identity, really.
I mean, it feels like one of those kind of dishes that, it is open for interpretation. When you've got like a one-pot situation, you can afford to add in things or subtract things and change it. It's not like a dish that, has a hard roadmap of how to make it that's right or wrong. This kind of feels like there's a lot of right options.
Exactly.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. By 1836, clam chowder was already well known in Boston and served at the Ye Old Union Oyster House, which is the nation's oldest continuously operating restaurant.
See, that's the kind of joint that I want to hit up.
Yeah, exactly. It's about 250 years old, which is nutty.
My God. So that's it. You're going to get the real deal there.
Yeah. Like the building that houses the Union Oyster House is 250 years old.
Whoa.
Herman Melville, who lived from 1819 to 1891. He was an American novelist, devoted a whole chapter in his famous 1851 book, Moby Dick. Yeah, he writes of the Tri-Pots, which was a chowder house in Nantucket, Massachusetts, which served only cod or clam chowder. He goes on to say,
however, a warm, savoury steam from the kitchen served to relieve the apparently cheerless prospect before us. But when that smoking chowder came in, the mystery was delightfully explained. Oh, sweet friends, hearken to me. It was made of small, juicy clams, scarcely bigger than hazelnuts, mixed with pounded ship biscuit and salted pork cut up into little flakes. The whole enriched with butter and plentifully seasoned with pepper and salt, our appetites being sharpened by the frosty voyage, and in particular Queequeg, seeing his favourite fishing food before him, and the chowder being surpassingly excellent, we dispatched it with great expedition.
Some well interesting stuff in that. The fact that he calls it pounded ship biscuit made me laugh. I don't know why.
Innit? There's those three words together, they feel right.
It sounds like a derogatory term for like...
Yeah. Shut up, you pounded ship biscuit.
Like a prostitute on a ship or something. Pounded ship biscuit.
Prostitute on a ship. A pounded ship biscuit. Because she's been pounded by all the fucking sailors.
Exactly.
Yeah, and ship sounds like shit, but he's actually just... Oh, God, pounded ship biscuit. I'm going to call Joanna that when she gets home. And see what she says.
Oh,
God. I feel like... yeah, I feel like, what's his name? William Dafoe in The Lighthouse.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh...
But yeah, I mean, this is 1851 when this came out, so I imagine he wrote it a couple of years before or whatever.
Yeah, Moby Dick. I've never read Moby Dick, but it's
no,
it's supposed to be one of the greatest novels of all time, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's right up there.
I think he gives quite a good outline of how it's made, or how he thought it was made at the time of him writing this.
Small, juicy clams, scarcely bigger than hazelnut, mixed with pounded ship biscuit. Salted pork cut up into little flakes, enriched with butter, seasoned with pepper and salt. Yeah, and then he's just explaining how much they enjoyed it. They dispatched it with great expedition. He's using like ship terminology to explain how much he's enjoying eating it. That's cool.
It is cool. He goes on to write the following.
Fishiest of all fishy places was the Tri-Pots, which well deserved its name. For the pots there were always boiling chowders. Chowder for breakfast, and chowder for dinner, and chowder for supper, till you began to look for fish bones coming through your clothes. The area before the house was paved with clam shells.
That's a good bit of writing that. Really good bit of writing that, isn't it? Really, very descriptive of the place.
But chowder for breakfast, chowder for dinner, and chowder for supper. Can you imagine
all three courses, just thick bowls of creamy fish soup?
This is what
I imagine it would be... No, it probably wouldn't even be that great for you because you're eating a lot of butter, aren't you? And a lot of milk and a lot of cream.
Yeah. And you're not getting many fresh vegetables.
No.
Really, with that. But yeah, for every meal, like, it's just a lot. It's a lot. I feel like this kind of chowder as well, I feel like I'd have one, and that would be me for a month at least.
Yeah.
Like, there's certain meals that when you have, you're like, that was delicious, but I cannot have another one of those for a long time.
It's interesting, his description of kind of gives us like a glimpse into what restaurants were like as well, where they've just got pots always boiling away. This place probably only served chowder, and they just had it constantly on the go, ready for all sorts of people, all sorts of seamen that were walking in at God knows what time. There was always a hot bowl of chowder ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, and I've also got like a great admiration for places that do one dish and have done that one dish forever.
Yeah,
because it's like they're just absolute masters of that one meal.
Yeah.
And I think they're the kind of places that aren't going to last forever. They're not.
No.
I mean, well, they might do, but there's not many of them. These places that just serve one thing that they've mastered.
I think we're seeing a resurgence, aren't we? I think
we are, yeah. But I feel like that's more of like a US thing in general, isn't it? Really, like they have these places like like a bagel shop or something that's been in like New York City forever, and it's like they just serve salt beef bagels and that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
And they've got no intention of making anything else. But you go there, you're getting the best fucking salt beef bagel.
Yeah.
I feel like this place that he's describing sounds similar. It's like they're just smashing the clam chowder, aren't they?
Yep. So yeah, by around the mid-19th century, clam chowder has solidified itself in American cuisine and was incredibly popular all over the New England area and beyond. So the first...
Global?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Steady.
Shut up, ass.
So the first written reference to North American chowder dates all the way back to 1732. So we've gone back in time a little bit now just to cover the first written reference. But 1732. And it comes from a New Englander called Benjamin Lind, who basically what he did is he documented his eating habits. He created a food journal, basically.
Cool guy. Way ahead of his time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure he was giving it to his PT or anything like that, but...
yeah. This is just the transcripts of his MyFitnessPal input.
Benjamin, you're light on the protein. Better uptick. More chowder.
I don't think any PT is ever saying more chowder.
No.
More chowder now, come on.
Or
maybe in America, actually. Maybe that's what the PTs over there are saying.
So Benjamin wrote in his journal that he dined on a fine chowdered cod.
Ooh, chowdered cod.
Chowdered cod.
So that's not what's that? Is that a different thing?
So no, I believe it is cod chowder. It's just
it's just his way of saying
the
it.
language in which he wrote it in. Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was more just like a piece of cod that's
boiled.
A little bit of chowder.
A
little bit of chowder going on.
That'd be horrendous, wouldn't it? Just
that's like no. I'm thinking of more like a modern fine dining chowder place. It's just like a beautifully cooked fresh piece of cod.
Right.
A whole cod, but then it's got like chowder sauce on top.
Oh right.
You know what I mean, like deconstructed clam chowder.
I thought you meant they just caught a cod and boiled it in some water and ate it.
No, they were probably doing that
though. The first written recipe for fish chowder comes from the Boston Evening Post, published on September 23rd, 1751. Now, obviously, chowder has been consumed way before this date, but this is like the first written recipe we have for it. I was actually able to dig into the archives and find this recipe in its entirety. So, Miles, if you do the honours, please inform the listeners how to make a fish chowder 1751 style.
First, lay some onions to keep the pork from burning, because in chowder there can be no turning. Then lay some pork in slices very thin, thus you in the chowder always must begin. Next lay some fish, cut crossways very nice, then season well with pepper, salt and spice, parsley, sweet marjoram, savoury and thyme. Then biscuit next, which must be soaked some time. Thus your foundation laid, you will be able to raise a chowder high as the Tower of Babel. For by repeating o'er the same again, you must make chowder for 1,000 men. Last bottle of claret with water eno to smother 'em. You'll have a mess which some call omnium gatherum.
That was perfectly read.
It's a poem.
Yeah, more recipes should be like this. We should bring this back. Every recipe should be a poem.
Yeah, shouldn't it? Although I do feel like you're sacrificing some like details on how to cook it.
Yeah, I mean, like
because you're trying to make it rhyme.
The whole thing is utterly useless, to be honest. But
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But it's super poetic.
Maybe they shouldn't all be. Yeah. Like, you're reading that and you're like, okay, yes, mate, but how long for?
Yeah, like first, right, so
What
first...
temperature?
First lay some onions to keep the pork from burning. Right, so...
Lay onions on what? Where? How?
Right, well, I imagine it's a pot, right? And you put the onions in first, right? Because in the chowder, there can be no turning. Right, so once you put the onions
You're raising
in...
the pork off the surface of the pan.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But then once you put the onions in, you can't turn them. You can't stir them.
I guess you're going to caramelise them and get them...
Well, it says it there. There can be no turning in chowder.
There can be no turning. There can be no turning. Then lay some pork in slices very thin.
Right, so
that's okay.
That's easy, yeah. Pork what, though?
Thus... yeah. Bacon, pork shoulder, I don't know.
Exactly.
Thus you in chowder always must begin. Pointless sentence, doesn't it?
Yeah, it rhymes though, so it's nice.
Yeah, but it's nice. Next, lay some fish cut crossways. Very nice.
Very nice.
Okay. Very nice.
Very nice.
Next, lay some fish. What fish? What fish?
Yeah, all the fish.
Every fish tastes incredibly different.
But it all tastes very nice.
Very nice. Cut it crossways. Very nice. Then season well with pepper, salt, and spice.
What?
Again, spice.
What
It's an
spice?
umbrella term.
Yeah.
There are many spices. I mean, turmeric is going to give you a different.
Yeah, completely different dish.
Yeah. Parsley, sweets. Did I say that right? Marjoram.
Yeah, marjoram.
Sweet marjoram. What is that?
I think it's like a Indian spice, no?
Is it sweet marjoram, savoury and thyme? Okay. Then biscuit next, which must be soaked some time. Okay, so that's the sea biscuit we were talking about.
Middle Eastern marjoram.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, like a plant.
Is it a spice?
Yeah, it's like a herb, I think.
Okay, so some of that's going in there. Then you soak your biscuit, I'm guessing just in water or milk or something.
Yeah, well, what biscuit? Rich tea?
I mean,
Lotus?
it's got to be the sea biscuit. It's that sea biscuit.
Yeah, it is, yeah, it's a hard tack.
Okay, so it's one of those. Then thus your foundation is laid. You will be able to raise a chowder high as the Tower of Babel. Okay.
That's not helpful whatsoever.
Not helpful. I'm not raising my chowder high up anywhere.
No.
By repeating OR the same again, so you could just, by doing this all again, you could make chowder for 1,000 men.
Yeah, you could do that with any recipe. If you make it again, you can make it for more people.
Yeah, again, 2 lines wasted, but very poetic. Love it. Last bottle of claret with water and oat to smother them.
So that's putting either a claret, could be wine, claret maybe?
Could something, yeah.
But water, obviously, that's your liquid, isn't it?
Stop it being too thick.
Well,
oh, yeah.
That's the chowder, that's the soup, isn't it?
That's the actual soup, yeah. You'll have a mess, which some call omnium, gather 'em.
You'll have a food that people will gather around for, maybe. Cool recipe, though. Utterly useless, but super poetic.
If we ever do a What the Food recipe book, we'll be sure to make them all rhyme.
Yep, and utterly useless.
Unreadable.
Yep.
Yeah.
You will buy this book and make none of the recipes from it.
Nothing. Yeah, it might need a warning in there, like, although this appears to be a recipe book, it is not.
Yeah.
For following.
Exactly. Might as well just be blank pages.
Right, so that's the first ever written recipe for clam chowder.
For fish chowder.
For fish chowder.
Fish chowder.
Right.
Yeah. The first American cookbook, called American Cookery, by Amelia Simons, published her version of the chowder in her second edition of the book in 1800. She served her chowder with a big old bowl of hearty taters on the side.
Ooh.
So that's 1800s. In 1824, a cookbook from a Virginia housewife called Mary Randolph used basically whatever firm fish she could find, along with salt pork, onions, and crackers. However, the crackers were not the main thickening agent in her chowder, because she made like a roux, which is flour and water, to make her soup thick, basically. Right. So next, Lydia Maria Child, who was a women's rights activist, Native American rights activist. Basically, this lady stood up for people that are having a shit time. Included a recipe in her 1833 version of the American Frugal Housewife.
Ooh.
She added salt pork, fish, beer, lemon, and a few clams as a pleasant addition.
Oh, so is this where we're starting to see the first involvement of clams?
Exactly, yeah. So this is the first time that I could find that clams were highlighted as being added to chowder.
Because before it was just fish. It was like whatever kind of fish you can get your hands on.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, now we've got the clams coming in. But interestingly enough, it isn't until much later that we actually see a written recipe for specifically clam chowder.
Okay.
We have to wait until 1934, so relatively recent in the grand scheme of things. And this recipe was published by Virginia Elliott and a guy called Robert Jones in their book called Soups and Sauces.
Soups and Sauces.
The recipe is called Manhattan clam chowder, despite having no real association with New York or Manhattan. I'm not really sure why they called it that, but nevertheless, the name stuck and has been used ever since, and this is the Manhattan clam chowder that people eat today.
Right, okay.
Sounds good. Well, it's not, because this delightful little recipe started a fucking war, my friend.
Oh my God, really?
New England and New York have always had a fierce rivalry. You know, you've got the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees, absolutely hate each other. You've got the New England Patriots versus the New England Giants or Jets, absolutely hate each other. There's a rivalry here, yeah?
They're just neighbours though, aren't they? Like,
Yeah, they're not far from each other at all. Not far. So when Elliott and Jones published their New York clam chowder recipe, it's no surprise that shit kicked the fuck off, sending New Englanders into a frenzy. Like, it was referred to as notable heresy, what Elliott and Jones did by writing their recipe.
What year is this?
So this is 1939. So this is just as World War II started.
Right, so there's a bigger fucking fish to fry, excuse the pun.
Exactly.
And they're arguing about this
Exactly.
recipe of clam chowder. Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
yeah.
fair enough.
The main clam chowder war of 1939 all started with a tomato-hating politician from Rockland named State Representative Cleveland Sleeper.
Cleveland Sleeper.
Cleveland
Does
Sleeper,
not
which-
like his tomatoes.
It sounds like a perfect Urban Dictionary entry, that. What do you reckon of Cleveland? I'll give you a Cleveland Sleeper.
It's like, what's the football one here, like the Chelsea smile or whatever they call it.
Yeah. Well, they put a credit card in the mouth.
Punch him and make him bite down on it.
Yeah.
Ugh, God.
Got
Cleveland
the
Sleeper.
Cleveland Sleeper.
But that's just
Nah.
his name.
That's just his name, yeah. That name's Cleveland Sleeper.
What was his vendetta against tomatoes?
Well. He started this war when he drafted a bill to criminalise the use of tomatoes in clam chowder.
What the hell? Like,
This dude
why?
was literally so offended by people putting a tomato in their chowders that he sought to make those doing it criminals.
Right, so you know when you have a child, right, and they
Yeah.
don't like eating certain foods,
Yeah.
and they don't actually not like it, it's just the parent is a bit of a wet fart and just doesn't force the child to eat properly.
Yeah.
And just gives them whatever meals they want. This is what happens to the child if he then grows up eating whatever he wants, like just beans or whatever for dinner.
Beans.
Like, no fresh
No, he
food.
wouldn't eat beans though, would it? Because beans are in
Tomato
tomato
sauce.
sauce. Yeah, so he wouldn't be eating that shit.
Having that. But you know what I mean? Like, a kid's like, I don't like vegetables.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
the parent's like, okay, yeah, well, and then never cooks any vegetables. That kid grows up, gets into politics, and you've got a Cleveland Sleeper on your hands.
Yeah. Well, so you're basically saying that Cleveland Sleeper is King Curtis.
He's King Curtis.
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes to his nan's for chicken nuggets when he falls out with his mum. Like, he's a kid that's grown up not eating any vegetables because he's just been allowed to eat whatever he wants. And he's in a position of power now where he's able to make it a law to remove tomatoes from clam chowder.
Yeah, exactly.
So the takeaway from this is just parent your kids correctly.
Just feed him tomatoes, it's fine.
Yeah.
But he didn't stop there. Like, he proposed that guilty offenders would have to dig up a barrel of clams at high tide, which if you ask any respectable clammer, which is what a fisherman that finds clams is called, they will
clammer?
tell you a clammer, yeah.
Right.
Any respectable clammer will tell you that is not only cruel, but it's impossible to do this. It's impossible to dig up a barrel of clams at high tide. It's impossible.
Yeah, and probably life-threatening.
Yeah, exactly. 'Cause you're going to fucking
serious
drown.
risk of drowning.
Yeah, exactly.
What is this guy? Like, this is 1939. This isn't that long ago.
I know, mate. I know. Luckily for tomato lovers in America, Sleeper's bill was never approved. But Sleeper,
And he went to his nan's for chicken nuggets.
and he went for just to decompress and just vent out his anger. She proper jostled his head, got him back into the spirit of it.
Yeah.
Got him back out there, and he couldn't let it go. He could not let it go.
Can he not?
No, Sleeper arranged for a New England chef to meet with a Philadelphia restaurant owner and his chef to have a clam chowder cook-off with the other chef.
Oh, it's all kicking off now.
Yeah, man.
It's all kicking off.
He invited a group of distinguished judges.
Right.
One of those was a governor, and one of those was a lady called Ruth Wakefield, who I imagine we will cover at some point because she is the inventor of the chocolate chip cookie.
No way.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Ruth Wakefield.
She was there testing the clam chowders.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Whoa,
Yeah.
An interesting lady. All right. Well,
Yeah.
we'll meet you again.
Ruth. See you later, Ruthers. So he brought judges. He's having a chowder cook-off. Now, I just want to make something clear here. Both of those judges, Ruth and the governor,
Yep.
are from New England.
Right.
So it shouldn't come as any surprise that the New England clam chowder won the cook-off.
Yeah. Typical American political tactic is just paying biased people off.
Exactly. They much preferred the New England chowder over the Manhattan chowder, and this of course led to beautiful newspaper headlines like Maine chowder wins over tomato type, and Representative Sleeper's campaign for unpolluted dish is successful. Beautiful.
So that headline is beating like troops land on French beach to defend the West.
Yeah, exactly. To defend the modern civilization as we know it.
Those headlines are like beating that. Yeah.
Well, you got to keep spirits up, haven't you?
Oh God.
So even Sleeper himself said,
If a clam could vote, I would be elected president. Wow.
he's probably right.
Well, there's a lot of clams and he'd get all their votes, yeah.
Well, actually, if you think about it, would he? Because
He's cooking them all
he
up.
is still killing them, but just in a different way.
He's using more of them than the tomato people.
Yeah. Anyway, a few years later, a lady called Eleanor Early, cool name, picked up the anti-tomato crusade in her book called A New England Sampler. In this book, she writes,
There is a terrible pink mixture with tomatoes in it and herbs called Manhattan clam chowder that is only a vegetable soup and not to be confused with New England clam chowder, nor spoken of in the same breath. Tomatoes and clams have no more affinity than ice cream or horseradish. Horseradish!
love it.
So this fucking Eleanor really.
Yeah, man. She is like
Horseradish.
she's fuming. She calls it a vegetable soup, nor it shouldn't be spoken in the same breath as New England chowder, and tomatoes and clams have no more affinity than ice cream and horseradish. Which I imagine Linda has tried putting together at one point.
Linda served that to her children.
Yeah.
Why do they care this much? For fuck's
know,
sake!
mate.
Like,
I
just
know.
there can be two versions. Like, you can have a bolagnese and a carbonara. Why does
you?
one have to destroy the other?
No, can you?
We'll get to that in our carbonara episode. Nah, Eleanor needs to chill out.
Yeah. But these people clearly hate tomatoes. So I wanted to find out why. I wanted to dig a little bit deeper. Go off topic a little bit slightly, but I thought it was interesting to find out
Why they're so passionate about this.
Yeah, exactly. Why did Sleeper and Early hate tomatoes so much? Well, one of the theories that I found was that it could have been a hangover from when people believed tomatoes to be poisonous. You know, we spoke about this in our pizza
I think.
episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
So our tomatoes are obviously from the Americas, so we hadn't seen them before the colonial period. And when they came to us, they look the plant that tomatoes grow on are very similar to nightshade.
That was it. Yeah, it was the Romans. It belonged to like a food group of theirs that they thought was poisonous, didn't they?
Yeah, it's like a philosophy of eating. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was for long thought that tomatoes were poisonous.
Because we said it, they look. They if you'd never seen a tomato and you cut one open, you looked inside it. Your first thought would be, "Wow, okay, that's not to be eaten." Like
exactly.
all those seeds, the gooey middle bit, like it's bright red. It looks poisonous, doesn't it?
Exactly. So that's one of the theories as to why they hated it. It could have been a hangover from this.
Yeah.
Or it could have been because tomatoes were seen as witches' apples associated with the dreaded scourge of witches allegedly plaguing the New England colonies in their earliest years of existence.
Ooh, see, I love this kind of like
Yeah, man.
time period. You know, like witch trials and
Yeah,
New England witch trials and stuff. Like
It's well interesting, isn't it?
It's
I mean, it's
so
horrible.
interesting.
Like, fucking,
Oh, yeah.
the Salem witch trials were like a dark period in American
Oh, yeah.
history.
yeah,
Like, you had dozens of Massachusetts women and even a few men were killed by the
Yeah,
state simply because they were accused of dabbling in witchcraft. You know the Salem witch trials, but do you know about the Salem tomato trial?
Fucking hell.
Well, it's a thing.
Today, on Tuesday, the 17th of April, we are putting on trial these 4 tomatoes.
What for? On what grounds? On what grounds?
This one, too plump. This one, too poisonous. This one, too juicy. And this one, we just don't like it.
Well, it is a thing.
The tomatoes aren't the ones on trial, though, are they?
Well, no, they might be.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So the Salem tomato trial, let's fly through it because it's funny as fuck to think about. Right. So prior to 1820, as we've already mentioned, people generally believed that tomatoes were poisonous.
Yep.
But a guy called Colonel Robert Gibbon Johnson was not one of those people. To prove his hypothesis, he did the only logical thing a man could do. He walked to the local courthouse carrying a big basket of tomatoes and put them on trial. Obviously.
I made a joke a minute ago, but that is literally
That's literally how it happened. You actually nailed it.
Oh, God, right.
Yeah. Now, obviously, a crowd soon gathered because why would you
There's
not
a
go and
crazy
watch
man with a
this?
basket of fucking tomatoes.
Excited to watch this dude scran a whole bunch of poisonous tomatoes and definitely kill himself.
Is that what he was going to do? Eat them?
He was going to eat them to prove to people that they weren't poisonous because he
Right.
believed that they were, obviously, rightly, that they were not poisonous. And he wanted to prove to everybody else by eating a full basket of tomatoes
That they're fine.
at the local courthouse in New England in 1820. They were all fine.
Okay, fair play to him.
Yeah.
Honourable man at this point.
Honourable man, yeah.
Take him off the team.
Exactly. Accompanying Johnson was a guy named Dr. James Van Meter, who was a respected physician, which, I imagine he brought in along just in case shit did go south. So he wasn't entirely sure about it.
Yeah. I'm 71% sure I will survive this.
Yeah. So, there
Hence
was...
this man with me today.
I'm supporting Mr. Johnson here, just in case one of the tomatoes infects his brain.
Infects his brain. Right. So Colonel Robert Gibbon Johnson is going to eat a basket of tomatoes.
He is, yeah. And just before beginning the trial, Johnson held aloft a tomato and said,
"The time will come when this luscious scarlet tomato, rich in nutrition, a delight to the eye, a joy to the palate, whether fried, baked, broiled, or even eaten raw, will form the foundation of a great garden industry."
That has to be the most epic thing anyone's ever said before eating a tomato. Every time they eat a tomato, I'm going to say that now.
Yeah. What are you having there, mate? Just salad with some tomatoes on it. "The time will come when this delicious scarlet tomato, rich in nutrition..."
Just reach over, just grab one off his plate and just hold it up.
"A joy to the palate, whether fried, baked, broiled, or even eaten raw, will form the foundation of a great garden industry." And slap it back down on his salad.
Yeah.
Continue. No, but he's right, though. I mean, think about tomatoes are just enjoyed worldwide. They're like, must be like a billion dollar industry. He was so right.
Yeah, massively right.
Tomatoes are just fucking key ingredient for almost every cuisine.
Yeah, for sure.
So what was the outcome of that then? So that was it from that day onwards.
Changed the people's opinion of the tomato. Everyone that witnessed this dude chow down on a basket of tomatoes and saw that he'd lived a long and prosperous life was like, fucking hell, I should be eating tomatoes. Hilarious story that I'd love to have a time machine.
Should never have happened.
No, should never have happened, but I'd love to have a time machine and just go back and just watch it from above. Just watch it all play out. Just the shocks of every time he puts a tomato in his mouth, and the crowd like, no, Gibbon!
I bet you there's so many like moments like that in history that would just be great to just nip back to and have a look.
For sure. So there you have it. The origins of clam chowder. We went a bit off piece at the end, but on the surface, clam chowder is a simple simple dish. It's a delicious soup that can be found in all restaurants, or many restaurants across America. But if you dig into its history, it's fascinating to think about how something so seemingly ordinary has such an interesting history. It's a dish that's been argued over since it was first cooked on American soil. Truly, it's fascinating to think how this simple soup basically can be so complicated in the eyes of some people, to the point where they're willing to call those people that disagree with the way they make it criminals.
And make them do slave labour basically as a punishment.
Exactly, basically putting people's lives at risk of drowning as they fetch them.
Because you disagree with how to make this dish. Why can't instead you just all rejoice in the fact that you all love chowder?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a different version, but it's chowder. You all like it. Like, what the fuck?
So as the debate over what is or what isn't true clam chowder continues to this very day, we can all agree that it has one thing in common. It's a glorified fish soup, and y'all need to grow up.
I was going to say, it's got fish in it. Oh my god. There's bigger things to worry about.
Yeah, exactly.
In life.
Exactly.
If it tastes good, it tastes good.
100%, mate.
Enjoy it.
Nailed it. And I'd like to end this episode. We started with a quote, so let's end with one. So I want to end by getting my best mate Miles here to read some inspiring words from fantasy legend Terry Pratchett.
I find it best to worry about the little things that can be helped by being worried about, such as the making of clam chowder, coffee. The bigger stuff, well, you have to handle that as it faces you.
Beautiful. Beautiful, inspiring
Terry Pratchett.
quote.
Don't worry about the big things. Just worry about how to make clam chowder and how to brew your coffee.
Exactly. Worry about the little things. Don't worry about
Don't worry about the crippling debt you've got.
paying your rent or getting a car or chowder. How's it made?
How's it made? Oh, well, there we go. Clam chowder.
There you go. There you have it.
The clamclusion, as the heading said for the end. Damn. That was awesome. That was really cool.
Interesting one.
I learned a lot. There was a lot to get our teeth into.
There was. I didn't think there would be, so I was quite surprised. And also, when I saw that there was a war, fucking got the old clam juices going, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, hands got clammy. Yeah, no, there's a little bit of everything there. There's controversy, there's, like you said, there's war, there's deep history, there's recipes, witches. There's a lot going on there.
Witch!
And witch! It's just pointing to a basket of tomatoes. Yeah. No, I do fancy... I mean, I do ultimately want to try a traditional clam chowder at some point, but I'm just going to save it until I eventually go there.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't think there's any point really ordering it anywhere but, New England.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, New England or around those areas.
Oh, yeah, I've just said the wrong thing there. I'll set off another army, another fucking war. Jesus.
Fucking God. Doomsday clock's just moved up an hour.
Yeah. Well, there we have it. That was clam chowder. So... good job on the research, Andy.
Thanks, mate. And, good job on the quotes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let us know what you think of the podcast. Send us an email at whatthefoodpodcast@gmail.com. Mm-hmm. Send us some feedback. If you've got feedback, me and Andy are, we're new to the podcast game. Mm-hmm. So we're still very much learning. We're having fun while we do. So, if you guys have got any feedback for us, that's much appreciated.
Yes, please.
And, if you just want to have a chinwag, talk to us about anything, let us know. And if you want to suggest, a dish to cover, we're more than happy as well to take some suggestions. It'd be cool to see what you guys want to hear about as well. Yeah. So
if it's shit, though, we're not doing it.
If it's shit, we're not doing it, and we'll tell you that it's shit. And we'll read out your name live.
Call you out.
We'll shame you like a real witch trial. Okay, well, we will see you in a couple of weeks for the next episode. Mm-hmm. And thank you very much for listening. We really do appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Chowder for now.
You've been waiting for that, haven't you? Oh, God. Right.
See you next time.
See ya. Bye.